like that.
Hey, what is up, guys? It's Guildspire here, and welcome back to Champions of the Fog. Today, I am joined by Vader. How you doing today, Vader?
I am doing well. I am, it's early in the morning, but I'm awake. And I'm competent right now. Like, I got enough rest last night. I'm not feeling like death, so always a win.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that 110%. But we're here today to watch my team Sample Text against Undying Alliance. You excited?
I'm excited. I'm definitely wanting to see real good killer play. Definitely. I've seen High Surveillance before, and I've been excited by their play, so Undying Alliance, of course, and then Sample Text. Like, the Survivor play is really good, the killer play is very good. I think we're in for a treat today.
Yeah, no, 110%. You know, I've obviously been screaming with my own team, preparing for this. Not going to spoil anything, but very excited to see how they perform in this matchup against Undying Alliance.
No tidbits for us? Like, nothing?
No tidbits just yet. You know, we'll have to wait and see what the team's bringing to the table. Obviously, I think this doesn't spoil anything, but I will not be killing today, if that was not already obvious enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, if you were like that would be interesting. Are you going to commentate and kill at the same time?
So the funny thing is, you joke, but I actually have done that prior. Back when some of the COTF matches were not streamed, I would stream my own match and commentate my own match, basically. And so that was a thing for a time, but now where we're streaming every single match over onto the COTF channel, I'd given it some thought if need be, but thankfully don't have to today, so got a bit of a break. Especially given that we have 5 matches today that we will be streaming, so it's going to be a long haul for me, and I think for you as well. You're with me for a good portion of
them. Yeah, I definitely think I have 3 or 4 of them with you. Can't remember.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think at least 3. I think, let's see. Let's take a look real quick. You're with me for the 10, 12, and 4. And then Gannicus is with me for the 2, and Cassie, Southern Belle Cassie, is going to be with me for the 6 p.m. Another Dead by Daylight comp player who is not on team right now, but is going to be on the team for next season, I do believe.
I like. Any drops on what team? I'm excited.
I think they're a new team, so they don't have a name just yet. But that being said, I'm definitely excited to see them play. I've played with them a few times on my stream on Survivor side during Swift days. So definitely excited to see what insight they bring to the table during their first co-hosted match.
Ooh, nice. That'll be exciting to see. I'll definitely be I'll be watching that.
Awesome. But with that being said, we do have everyone in lobby as we speak. I do believe at this point we are just waiting on our Survivor builds. We could give a quick tap to the surviving side Sample Text. Would be much appreciated. Simple. So, you know, you and I were talking a little bit before today's match about the part 1 of the mid-chapter update. What are you... So, let's go ahead and roll back a conversation a bit. Obviously, some of the biggest things coming out of the mid-chapter update, part 1, we're getting part 2 on Monday, is Trapper getting a buff. He's now able to hold 2 traps in hand, and there's always going to be 6 traps on the map, point blank. No more RNG. And Spirit is getting a nerf.
What I was saying earlier is I don't know. Yeah, it could be a nerf, but I think it may result in more exciting gameplay.
I could agree with that.
I'm with it. I'm not upset about it. I know a lot of the community is out there going, "How dare you? How could you do this to my Spirit?" Now, me, I'm like, I enjoy playing Spirit a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I personally feel like this is going to make it more exciting because as a survivor, there's less guesswork on whether or not the spirit is phasing or not.
Yep.
But the spirit might have a lot more spicy mind games, and I love that. Honestly, as a viewer, what I love seeing are mind games.
Yep.
So if I can get the mind games, I'm happy. So I mean, like with her add-on where she can go ahead and go back to the husk, I love that. When she, yeah, the fact that she'll kick up dust, I think you'll end up getting more survivors that actually pay attention, which I like as well. So honestly, I think the move by Behavior to go ahead and do this is going to up the play of pub survivors to be more observant. And I think honestly, as a community, we should love that, because then if any of us are solo queuing, hopefully we get like not potatoes.
Yeah, no,
you know, like it's an easier thing than like there were people that have made guides. Like I know Jazzy had a whole guide made on how to tell if a spirit was phasing or not. And it's like, yeah, that's all fine, well and good. It's still a 50-50.
Yeah.
Like there is no tell all if a spirit is phasing, but now it's going to be very direct. Like, yeah, you know this spirit's phasing. She's kicking up dust. She's making grass move. I think it'll be fun to see like survivors look for grass moving the same way killers look for grass moving.
Yeah, I mean, that was a way in which, it wasn't the exact same way, but it was similar to the way in which I actually paid attention to Spirit, was that she could still disturb crows while phase walking, and I feel like maybe as a killer main, I pay attention to that a little bit more, because crows are, like, a ton of info where you know where crows are, where crows were, how long it takes before they come back. That really does change dynamic when you're playing as a killer, but also as a survivor. And so I think when they add environmental effects like the grass, that's definitely going to make survivors need to be more aware. But I do think in some ways, at the higher levels of play, especially as we see in comp, this will definitely move Spirit down a peg. And if I'm so bold enough to say, I would argue that she gets moved down to probably A tier, or at least underneath Blight. You know, for the longest time, it's been Nurse at the top with Spirit right behind, where some people could argue and make some really good arguments that Spirit was better than Nurse in some cases. I still would always say Nurse better than Spirit, but that's me. But Blight was always just a few notches behind, where I think now it could be argued that Blight is going to be better than Spirit, if not even Spirit moving out of the S tier and moving down into top A.
I think that Spirit will move down into top A, at least for the beginning, until people get used to trying to mind game with new Spirit, right? With Spirit rework. But I don't think that this locks her out of S tier, if that makes sense. I definitely think she can return. It's just everybody who plays Spirit right now is going to have an adjustment period.
Yep.
So I like actually piggybacking off of that, I think we're going to see a lot of Spirit today.
I could definitely see some Spirit going in, 110%.
I think if we don't see a lot of Spirit today, people may be holding off to try to use new, like they may end up not using Spirit because new Spirit may not be as threatening. As so I think get your uses in a Spirit while you can. Get while the getting's good.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really good point, to be honest with you, where it might not be a bad idea to use Spirit now rather than to hold off for later, because that could result in scenarios where you go, oh crap, Spirit's bad. It's actually a way in which right now, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, or even cares for that matter, but this most recent update with the Pinhead being added broke the timing on the animation on Pyramid Head. And so I remember the day after screwing with my team and going, okay, let's use some Pyramid Head. You know, that's kind of one of my go-to comp killers. And all of a sudden, I just went, oh, I can't use him anymore. I can't use him until he fixes animation, because I'm such a visual killer to where with his animation mistiming, I just can't really get the timing down, even though you can still insta M2, you can still do everything you could previously do. It's just the visual timing, that muscle memory is so thrown off. I'm like, nah, I'm going to focus in on other killers.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get it. I I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think it'll be exciting to see though. After what's part two of the mid chapter update? Isn't it? We're getting a new character. It's supposed to be a new
We're
survivor, isn't it?
Right now, we are assuming a new survivor, which is what it seems to be. And it seems to be something around like a theater setting or Macbeth, because we got a quote from Macbeth. We've gotten some like witchy themes going on, skulls, witches' hats, black cats, stuff like that. And to our knowledge, and based on what they said, on Monday we're going to get more information on Boon Totems, which I think Boon Totems, much like Scourge Hook, the new perk, is going to really change the game and potentially change the meta. Like, I'm still very excited to see what Scourge Hook brings to the table once it's introduced to comp meta. But we are jumping right on in, and our first match of the day, we see High Surveillance on Bubba.
Oh Lord.
So very, very excited to see this. And, you know, being a Bubba connoisseur myself, I'm always happy to see someone else play some Bubba. And, you know, I think that it's going to be interesting to see what the survivors are going to have to do against Bubba here, where this map is pretty RNG static, and playing the outside like we see here with Kieran is not always the best idea.
Gil, would you be able to share your screen through Discord? I actually
Yes.
cannot see match right now.
I believe we did forget about that, but thank you for that heads up. And what you missed there was a bit of a stealth play by the survivors, and unfortunately did not exactly work out all too well, as you might imagine.
Yeah. First hook very early here.
Yeah, really.
As killer, you love to see it though.
And it is. And fact of the matter is here, I am interested in something, and maybe you can talk about this. I'm not sure if you play a lot of Bubba. What are your thoughts on running double chili versus Beastmark chili?
I don't play a lot of Bubba, honestly, but aren't those both tantrum duration, if I'm not mistaken?
So they do, I don't believe they increase tantrum, no. What they increase is actually your chainsaw dashes. And I believe with both of them stacked like that, you're increasing each dash for about a second total.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, that's, I think that's perfect, especially when you're trying to use Bubba in a comp setting. You're not going to see survivors necessarily immediately throw a pallet. They may try to conserve the pallet, but they'll try to get to a vault as fast as they can, right? Like here, I think, yeah, definitely throw that pallet, which was good. But they're going to look for a vault, try to put something in between you and them. They don't want to necessarily waste every pallet. So I think having more of that dash so you can just go around it is definitely the smarter play. Oh, this is unfortunate. We might see a little bit of basement play here, especially being on Wrecker's Yard. Like, no reason to keep chase on that Nia when you can get Ace in the basement.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, especially on these maps where the basement is in the center of the map, Bubba or any killer that can really capitalize off of that basement pressure is always a good call. And Bubba especially being known for to be the basement killer definitely works out well. And I hate to say this, and it's one of those things about commentating your own team, but man, I have warned my team again and again, you just can't sprint burst against the Bubba. In this case, I guess it does work out since Bubba's not using Beastmark. Personally, for me, my go-to is always award-winning Chili Beastmark, and man, it can be punishing if a survivor thinks that they can utilize sprint burst, because Bubba's chainsaw dash is about 130% speed in comparison to a sprint burst, so you can catch up very quickly.
Yeah, indeed. And I thought that if Bubba had turned around, knowing that the vault was going to be taken, really could have pressured that. But overall, it's fine. Uh-oh. Oh, that was a deliverance play.
It was a deliverance play, and I'm just hoping at this point that Barson has a DS, which he does, because otherwise there's going to be no way out of that basement.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Do you think you do eat the DS and just let it happen, or do you think leave him in basement? Oh, well, he's... Never mind. This is the right play.
Yeah, it won't matter much now. Yeah, I mean, it's a hit or miss play, right? On one hand, you would be able to keep him in basement otherwise and hope that someone goes down for the pickup. Alternatively, of course, they might end up crawling out and you kind of lose that pressure. Or, as kind of hit or miss, you either see one or two things. You either see a DS on Deliverance players, or you see Unbreakable. And so you kind of have to play around that mind game, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I think, actually thinking back to it, we were at 4 gens. It is totally fine to eat that DS now. Get it out of the game early.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, in this case, now you know that no one has Decisive Strike. You can go for everyone immediately off a hook. And for those experienced Bubbas, you can pretty much get a double down, if not 3 health states out of survivors. You know, you get 1 off the BT, you get 1 off of the person unhooking, and then the BT down again. You can do some really nasty stuff with Bubba.
Yeah, you can. Oh, look at that. I think in that case, I would have rather seen Flawless try to abandon that TNL at all. Bubba definitely cut off the pathing there. But that definitely ended up in a down. And what do you think of the slug play here? Like, don't go ahead and hook. Go ahead and instead patrol your gens.
I mean,
and
3 gens left, 1 person with 30 seconds left in basement, Ruin's still up, as we clearly see. I mean, you have a lot of pressure here, so there's no reason not to, in my opinion.
Ooh, got a stun off instead of being able to break that pallet. Interesting. Love to see it.
But all the while, even though we do see that really good pallet stun, we do see Barson going on to Death Hook. And so these survivors are in a really difficult position as we speak, where they already have 1 person out with 3 gens left, though they were able to get the pickup. Will it be all for naught with Dragon's Wrath about to go down?
Yeah, indeed. And I think with those 2 gens being done, I think on the same side even, that still leaves a lot of potential for 3 gen, even if they are able to push out gens.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we're seeing here is how much rune value that this Bubba has gotten as well. I mean, Rune Undying is a huge, huge benefit, and I have a question for you. Do you think they know the timing?
They know it perfectly. I'm like, so I wasn't able to actually answer you before they hop out right as it ends. Amazing. You love to see that on a survivor, like knowing the timing perfectly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I love to see it too, because they try and pull that on me all the time, like, no, you don't understand. That's not going to work on me. And so to see them use that in this scenario where they know the timing right at this point, after so many times practicing with me, it is really nice to see that play in full and not see them get grabbed out of that locker. It's always a miserable thing as a survivor, but also so satisfying as the Bubba.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. I love seeing it. You love to see it. I think right here, oh no, we see Dragon's Wrath go ahead and die as well. So we got 2 deaths, and we know where both of the injured survivors are at this point. This is spelling disaster for the survivors here. Just have to hope that, how do you say that name? Kieran? Siren?
Kieran. So,
Kieran.
Like a K.
Kieran. Okay, got you. So we gotta hope that they have Unbreakable here.
Yeah, that at this point, that it will be the survivor's saving grace if there is an Unbreakable play. Otherwise, this will be over if only 2 gens completed. And though not a full 12-hook game, it might as well be, right? You know, so far there's been multiple progressions. And we already saw Deliverance play out. Obviously, Flawless could try and Kobe, but I think that would just be all for naught, as there really is no way that these survivors are going to be escaping anytime soon.
I think the other thing you have to think about as well is, generally when we're talking about, like, oh, there's a lot of progressions, there were points left on the table by the killer. What the killer actually wants is more of a point spread, right?
Yep.
So being able to have the survivors only complete 2 gens, you still have that point spread. It's okay having progressions. You starved them of being able to score points off the gens.
Yeah, no, 110%. You know, some very glaring flaws with what the survivors had done here between not cleansing Ruin or going for it aggressively, especially as we saw towards the end, it being a very, very open area. But on top of which, you know, just some misplays by the survivors where they just were not able to capitalize on pallets, on vaults, on unhooks, and so on. And so, I don't know, what if you were to provide some feedback in this scenario, what would you have done as a survivor in these scenarios? We saw between, you know, good DS in basement, but a bad play kind of getting down back into basement from just some misused LT walls. Like, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, honestly, I felt like the mistake on Survivor side was I saw a lot of running. And maybe that was looking for totems, but there was not a lot of gen pressure, and obviously I know Ruin's there. If Bubba goes ahead and pressures those gens, gets you off of them, Ruin's gonna do its work. It's gonna do the entity's work. But I don't know. We were seeing there were a lot of survivors running around, and the Bubba did a really good job of chase. Honestly, like surveillance was doing good at making sure chases didn't take very long, and somebody was always trying to go for a hook save while he was already downing another survivor. So that makes easy work for the killer, knowing that 3 survivors are not on gen. You have a maximum of 1 survivor on gen at a time.
Yep.
Makes really easy work for the killers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, overall, really good pressure from beginning of the match to the end. You know, obviously, I think we saw towards the beginning that survivors were trying to stealth out and try and wait out Corrupt Intervention. Certain maps you can absolutely do that on. I think Wrecker's Yard is just, that outside is just so dangerous to be in, especially in this situation with Bubba being an insta-down killer. It just might not be the right move in those type of situations, right?
Right. I agree with that. And Guilt, it looks like Kieran is actually posting in the chat here, asking you to check DMs. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, no, already.
In case you haven't seen.
Already responded. We're trying to figure out, you know, maybe a last-minute substitution. Unfortunately, though, as I committed to commentating, you know, I'm not going to leave you high and dry here by yourself, so we'll be sticking to commentating for this moment in time. But with that being said, I do believe that Sampletex is now in lobby and will be getting Undyne Alliance in as the surviving side. I'm excited to see what Sampletex is going to bring to the table as far as killer is concerned. Obviously, I have some inclination. But, you know, interested to see if they're going to be able to match up to the Bubba high surveillance starting off very, very strong. And if we're going to see similar basement plays, which I feel like is a topic of conversation every single time we play on Wrecker's Yard.
For sure. I mean, having the basement be in the center of the map, yeah. Any I would say a high mobility killer is lethal on that map. But any character that can play basement well, like even a trapper, I know, crazy. I'm saying trapper right now. But even a trapper. Like if you can get one person in basement, set your traps right, like yeah, I could see you do well. I mean, come on.
I mean, especially now where trapper's going to be able to hold 2 by default, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and isn't it aren't they reworking his bag, one of his bag, like trapper sack, to be you have all of the traps on the map in your bag. So I
didn't
think
see that.
Yeah. They're reworking one of his add-ons. You get all the traps already. Like you don't have to walk and go get them. So I think that's potentially 8 traps, right? That he would just start with. Just like, yeah, let me go trap the map real quick. That's gonna be broken. Well, maybe. If you play a really good trapper. I'd have to confirm that is taking all of that, but I think that's what I read on the Trapper. I'm actually trying to look it up right now.
Yeah, no, I'd be interested if that's the case, because I remember a lot of people, talked about, that could be a buff for Trapper, where, you start off with all of your traps similar to Hag in that way, right? Where you're just able to kind of set up as you go, especially during your corrupt time, rather than having to navigate the map. And if that is the case, that would be a pretty significant buff to the Trapper Sack as a whole. Because that would allow you to set up your 3-gen, set up where you want to have your traps at vaults or drop downs, and just kind of play like Hag, but if in some cases even more lethal, where though you don't get that ITH, if you get that trap and they have that, 1 in a 6 chance of escaping, you could very well just get over there, trap in, or hook in your 3-gen, your trapped area, and call it a day.
Yeah, and I have looked it up. It is a very rare bear trap add-on. It does have a negative to it, though.
Okay.
So all bear traps are carried at the beginning of the trial instead of spawning on the map. So you start with 8 bear traps total. But you cannot pick up bear traps once you put them down.
Interesting.
Yes. So that is going to make for a interesting play. I think you may see that in pubs, at least, with a Eerie Stone.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just set up the map early and have an Eerie Stone so you don't have to go resetting.
Yeah, I think
especially
that
because you can't pick it back up.
That would be the play, right? Eerie Stone with that. So you kind of have to, the question is where do you pick to put your traps? Are you putting them, at vault locations? Are you putting them to slow down pallets? Like, how can you play that right is the question. Because one of the big things is when a pallet gets used and they're no longer going to loop there, are you going to be able to really make use of that? Or is this going to be all for naught in the end?
Honestly, I would say myself, I don't necessarily trap pallets when I play Trapper.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily trap vaults either. I know, strange, right? What I trap are corners where the survivor is trying to get splinters across their forehead, running across the corner, trying to just take that as tight as possible to run the loop as much as they can.
Yep.
Well, if you're gonna go ahead and just put your forehead to the wall and run, you're getting my trap, and then I'm gonna hook you. So, and a lot of times on most maps, the corners of those TNLs or any of those end up having tall grass.
Yep.
Which with Trapper's darker traps, you're not gonna see that trap. So you're just gonna have to make a guess. Can I do that or not? And if you take a wider corner, okay, cool. You're helping me out because now you're further from being able to take a vault or anything else. So I'll go ahead and do the less common thing and let you not take the tight corner, not have more of an advantage on me.
Yeah, no, that is a fair point. And even if they do know that trap is there, they're still going to have to cut wide on those TNL walls. And that should give you enough distance to potentially get a swing in, right? So
Yep.
I definitely think that's the right play for the most part. And that's definitely what I play as well. There's some unique circumstances where you can kind of do some nice little mind games if people are going to be playing pallets, where you fake place it down, kind of like doing a pig ambush, right? Where people just immediately jump off that tile, move to the next, and you kind of mind game that out and get a hit that way. But with that add-on, you might not really be able to capitalize on that mind game as heavily if you do by some chance place down the trap in full.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like maybe Trapper Sack could even be played with some bloody coil. Like you have to put them all down, of course, anyway. And yeah, you might have to reset them, but I don't know if you're controlling where you put your traps immediately, and you're trapping an area that you're claiming as a 3-gen, right?
Yep.
I also think it's interesting. We are saying, you get to have 8 traps immediately. Let me go ahead and put this little bug in your ear here. What if, as trapper, you trap your 3 gens to where where you can't have more than one person working on those gens? You just commit immediately to the gens.
Yeah, and I mean, that is an option, and that is significant slowdown on those generators, especially in that late game. So, you know, I've definitely done that before, especially hill gens. I feel like survivors never look for the trap on hill gens for some ungodly reason. And so I've done that before, and it can be quite effective. But we are jumping right on in, and we see Jess as the Deathslinger.
Yo, I love that, actually. I am a huge fan. You know, I actually enjoy playing Deathslinger myself. I am an avid Devour Hope player, though, so I am a Deathslinger with Devour. I love it.
Yeah, Deathslinger Devour can be quite nice, especially because his hit is considered an M1, whether or not that you shoot them. So it can be quite significant in those type of scenarios, for sure.
But yeah, my favorite things to run on Slinger, for sure, are that, like, Undying Haunted or Devour. I definitely, if you don't cleanse totems, or sometimes if you do cleanse totems, it can be bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to point out here, High Surveillance making some really, really good plays and doing something that not a lot of survivors do, which is they're using the locker as a way to break line of sight in that loop, where basically making it just being a full body block where they cannot shoot through, because we saw Jess there on many occasions trying to mind game that and get a shot off on those corners, but to no avail whatsoever.
Indeed, and seeing a gen already pop that was in that chase, you know, High Surveillance did great there, and especially keeping Chase in a corrupt zone, you know that the rest of the survivors can be on gens elsewhere. As we see 2 gens with a good amount of progress on here in the middle of this chase. Love to see it. Love to see it on Survivor side. As a killer, you definitely don't want to see that, because survivors have the advantage right now, and we already see High Surveillance got healed pretty quickly as well. So these survivors are communicating well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, matter of fact is, you know, these survivors, you know, playing smart, making good heads-up plays, and I think it was a major mistake by Jess to play in that corrupted zone, right? And just gave these survivors way too much time to kind of spread out, figure out where the 3 gens are, where they need to prioritize, you know, work, and so on and so forth. And so I think that was a major mistake and almost a really good play there by the Kate, and avoiding that hit and even baiting out the shot, in fact.
Yeah, and I honestly, I feel like we were seeing Jess kind of do what I want to see from a Deathslinger for sure. Kind of bait as if you're going to shoot. Oh, wow, nice shot. Bait as if you're going to shoot, get the survivor to zigzag, and let them go ahead and ruin the fact that they had distance on you, you know?
Yeah, no, 110%. I think that's something that a lot of slingers don't do, and they kind of just auto-shoot and get hit by that flick. And once again, as we said earlier, really great shots by Jez here, kind of threading the needle and getting these really good hits.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm loving seeing it. With Deathslinger, a lot of times you do end up having kind of a, if you don't hit your first few shots, it can spell disaster. And I feel like originally, pretty early, we were seeing that. Like we saw missed shots on High Surveillance, and all of a sudden we see gens popping, right? So for sure, baiting that shot a little bit, not necessarily taking that shot if you don't have a guaranteed hit, sometimes is the better play. Like it's a slinger mind game that only Slinger can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do want to point out here, even though we do see multiple gens being done, I wonder if there was some strategy being had by Jess here as Slinger, as we do see the only gens done were on the other side of the map. And we do see 4 gens on this full side, so it's very possible that Jess kind of drew a line in the sand and said, okay, this is my side, that's your side, have fun. So I'm wondering if that was the thought process at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and I do want to point out we were seeing Ruin early on. We saw that cleansed, and then I'm pretty sure we saw Pop.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
This definitely is still doable for the Slinger. We're just definitely gonna have those shots. Those shots are like prime real estate right now. We got to see them hit like every time. We can't see. We don't want to see misses. Only hits here.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's exactly what they need. They're going to need all the pressure they can get. And, you know, I will say, and I'll say again, Jess is an amazing slinger, is able to get those really good, really far shots and kind of thread the needle in some ways that you wouldn't expect otherwise. But the only thing is that these gens are just getting pressured really, really well. We saw Hill gen being worked on. We see this gen over here being worked on as well. And Nancy does have a broken stats effect now off, meaning that she is a good target for being re-hooked here, as that does mean no matter what, DS has since been disabled.
Yep, indeed. Oh man, these survivors are doing a really good job. They're still kind of a loose 3-gen that can be pressured here, but I don't think we've gone to that other gen a little bit farther up. Yeah, that one that we're looking towards right now. Yep. Is that the one that popped?
Yep, that is the one that popped, and it just makes sense at that point. At that point, Zynox probably just called out to their team, okay, they're on me, work on that gen. They 3-manned the gen that already had some decent progress, and, you know, that was that.
Jeez. Yep. Well, you know, I had said it last time I was commentating where Rin was in here. I had seen Rin run to corners a lot. I didn't see any corner running this time.
Yeah, to be fair, though, I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. I don't think they needed to at all. If you kind of looking at the situation, they were using those loops really, really well, using geometry to block the shot. And, you know, Jess being obviously a very competent slinger just was not able to keep up with these survivors in chase this time around.
Yeah, the survivors definitely played the game of distance very well as well. Like, the best thing you can have on a slinger is distance.
Yep.
So running from the gens as early as they were doesn't leave much opportunity for a shot to be taken. And really, that makes it easy on survivors. Makes it really tough on a slinger to do very well. And I think definitely what we were seeing from the slinger having those missed shots, it really puts even more pressure on yourself. But there were some amazing shots that were hit, like shots that definitely me as slinger, I wouldn't have hit. I wouldn't have hit at all.
No, absolutely. I mean, I enjoy myself some slinger, but I'll always give credit where credit's due to Jess being really, really good at what they do and understanding how to play slinger well. And so, you know, I think slinger is very hard. You know, being a 110 killer in a comp setting is always difficult. And when you have survivors that are just playing to your weaknesses, every single moment that you're in chase, it's just going to make it feel miserable through and through. And I think that's what we saw, is just they were prepared for a slinger. And I feel like a lot of teams cannot exactly say that.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, that was still a really amazing round. I loved everything I saw there. I mean, from Killer, we saw amazing shots taken. And you just love to see it. From Survivors, I mean, you could see their communication was good. They were resetting quickly. They were working on the gens they needed to work on. Death Slinger is kind of a slow mover. He's got that limp, you know. So having a lot of map pressure is difficult.
Yeah, I think you were. Oh, continue.
Yeah, I as Slinger, I feel like oppression is kind of needed to just almost for surveillance. If somebody misses that oppression skill check, then you know what gens are being worked on and you know where to pressure. But It's tough as a slinger out in these trials. It really is.
Well, funny that you mentioned that. You and I are definitely on the same wavelength, because I was actually going to mention what you mentioned to me prior to the match, in the fact that, you know, you had a friend running Slinger post-update where apparently Oppression Eruption is working in conjunction with one another, and even Surge Eruption is working. So, you know, especially Slingers, I feel like a lot of them in comp are going to be running, you know, a lot of 3-gen pressure builds, which would make sense.
Yeah. I definitely, and I'm really hoping, I said it before the match, I'm really hoping that the eruption oppression, eruption surge is a feature, not a bug. We've seen this before where something's introduced and then all of a sudden it becomes the norm instead of like, oh, or we've seen the opposite where it's like, oh, sorry, that was a bug. That wasn't supposed to be that way, but it's kind of more like a test. Feel like behavior's testing us here. I'm hoping this is the same thing. I'm hoping it's a test.
Yeah, no, I mean, we did see for a while where Oppression worked with Overcharge. We saw Doctor with his Impossible Skill Check doc, you know, running that quite often. And so I would love to see slight changes to things like Eruption and Overcharge to where it says when you damage a generator, apply this, because that would make a world of difference for certain perks for sure.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, what we're seeing from behavior anyway is they're trying to make every killer on even footing.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's an impossible task behavior. Good try, but that's impossible. That, like, you should, I'm not saying stop your efforts, but impossible. But, you know, like, of course, if you're affecting perks, it just makes it so on the already powerful killers, maybe they end up running it too. So that's where I think it's not possible to do with perks unless you're changing everybody's base kit. And I don't think that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think on one hand, I think trying to lower the ceiling is a good thing in ways, to be fair. And I think that's what behavior is really focusing in on certain killer nerfs like the Spirit. Honestly, I don't think you need to nerf them too much, because I think when we have always thought about like S tiers, it's because they go above and beyond what every other killer can do, and that's why they become so oppressive and consistent over in higher tier play, right? You just see nothing but nerfs if you're higher tier survivor, especially with MMR now enabled. And so I think in some ways them lowering that ceiling is going to be a good thing. But at the same time, they then need to look at, okay, how can we now balance survivors at a higher end as well? Because then we see, you know, comp survivors, and I'll be honest, I played against some comp survivors in my hardcore killer challenge, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Love to see it.
Right, indeed. And I see Psycho Mantis asking in chat, what's wrong with Eruption Oppression? So, Psycho, what was going on? I had a test in customs that we ran, and if you kicked with Oppression, it actually applied Eruption to, it applied Eruption to all 3 gens, and so I still got incapacitated when the survivor got down, when another survivor got downed. So what we purposely did in this test, it was versus a Death Slinger running kind of a endgame 3-gen build, and we went ahead, had him kick one of the gens, it applied Oppression, which in turn applied Eruption. I was repairing the gen as he downed somebody else, he had Surge as well, and I ended up being incapacitated, having touched a gen he never kicked. So, very interesting. It's not the way I would have expected it to go, and I was very surprised by it. But if that becomes the new norm, it definitely could make Slinger more of a threat if you let him get into a 3-gen. Honestly, it could make every killer kind of more of a threat with 3-gens if you could just be incapacitated.
Yeah, no, a lot of
those oppressions.
A lot of people kind of pass over the incapacitated part of Eruption, and when you kind of break it down of it being, 16 seconds, that is about, give or take, an additional, what? It takes 3 seconds, give or take, for 1% of a gen to regress manually. So it's about an additional, 5% in that case during that time period. So you get that initial 6%, then additional 5%. So you're really looking at 11% total that gen is being regressed by if no one else is around to touch it. So, it is very interesting to see how Eruption will get used more. And I think as more and more survivors are learning where totem spawns are, I dare say Ruin might get less usage. You might see more Eruption. I know I've been considering it in pubs, using Eruption more than Ruin.
Yeah, the incapacitated is great because, especially if you're running Thana or anything else, if they can't even help reset each other, even better. Even better. It's too much. It's too much.
And 110% agree. But with that being said, we are going to be jumping on to the third game of this match. And I do want to actually give everyone a heads up because I have not mentioned it, though. No one has asked thus far. Points right now, we're looking at Simpletex with 20 points and UA with 81. So Simpletex is really going to have to rally back here on this third game to try and keep them, in striking distance of getting this win. But we're going to be jumping right on in. And we see a Nemesis on Gas7. So what are your thoughts on Nemesis right now, based on the changes that they've made?
I think Nemesis definitely can be threatening in high mutation, so I think you want to get to your highest mutation as quickly as possible. Oh my goodness! Meg already got hit by a zombie. The zombie is doing the Lord's work. Oh.
On one hand, yes, but on the other hand, if you're Dragon's Wrath here, that might actually be a bad thing when you think about it, right? Because you want to get that initial hit on the survivors, which is going to get you, half plus a bit more when it comes to your infection rate, right?
That's true. That's true. And we'll see. I think survivors are more apt to run through pallets versus Nemesis rather than drop them. So I think instead of necessarily just bringing out that tentacle, I think you want to hold that and just go for the punch in some cases, like trade off a little bit, because I think you will see survivors not try to drop it for that reason. We do see Meg use a vaccine here, so the opportunity re-arises for you to try to get that mutation up.
Yeah, I am curious to know, what your thoughts are on the add-ons. Obviously, Marvin's Blood is almost an auto-include at this point when it comes to playing Nemesis with add-ons. Do you think, though, in comp play, reducing the number of vaccines available might also be a thought in certain scenarios?
I don't think so. I actually am fine if survivors vaccinate, because then I'm just gonna try to reinfect and give me more opportunity. We see Rin get infected. Was that by a zombie?
Nope, that actually was during the loop against Dragon's Wrath earlier. Was able to actually hitbox strafe, which is a skill that I feel like a lot of Nemesis don't understand when it comes to their hitbox, where you can actually strafe the tentacles hitbox in full to get a hit.
Oh, really? So see, that's something I didn't even know, and I don't play Nemesis that often. I attempted to early when he first came out, and I didn't enjoy it as much. So I love Resident Evil, but I don't know. I didn't like playing Nemesis, so I didn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you can strafe strafe over and extend the hitbox's width? Is that what you're saying?
So Astarva actually has done some videos on this to try and, test the limits of Nemesis and what can and cannot be done. But hitbox strafing is a thing that can be done with him, where you can kind of get some really strange interactions with his M2 and result in some really awkward hits for the survivors. kind of like what we're seeing right there. Where it's almost like Huntress's hitbox with the hatchet, right? Where you're able to hit that tail end because the hitbox on survivors does trail behind them.
Trail behind, yeah, indeed. That's crazy because Rin right there was actually already past the wall. So if he had aimed his tentacle right at the wall, it wouldn't have worked.
Yep.
It wouldn't have worked at all. But because you can strafe that, it actually extended past the wall and ended up hitting Rin. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's some
wow.
really interesting things with hitboxes and what you can and cannot do with Nemesis. But one of the things that survivors can abuse, and once again, like I was talking about, we kind of see that exact same thing right there of that hit, is that survivors can learn how to work around Nemesis hitbox really well in addition. So there is some really interesting counterplay where as long as you're able to duck underneath the object, Nemesis tentacle cannot hit you, so it doesn't extend over the object and down, kind of like how Huntress or Deathslingers does. So it can be kind of interesting to see what type of counterplay there is.
Yeah, that is definitely fair. Here I am, I'm surprised actually that we've seen this many gens pop this soon, but these survivors are doing a really good job of pressuring all the gens. And there is not a 3-gen right now on Gas Heaven. As fast as those gens popped, I was thinking maybe potentially we would have a 3-gen, but maybe it's a super loose 3-gen over in that kind of corner area, but I wouldn't call that a 3-gen.
Yeah, with the amount of distance between those, you know, you have 2 people on one gen, 1 person other, 1 person in chase. I mean, it's a really tough position for Alex to be in here. And we do see one survivor actually kind of out of position, not on gens as we speak. So at most, there's only 2 survivors on gens at this moment in time.
Yep, and we see scratch marks over by the shack as well. So I think really we only had 1 survivor on gen at that moment. Which, I mean, as killer, you'll take that. That's easy enough. And I think we still have, I think I saw Ruin right there, right? I think it's
Ruin
still up.
is still up at this current moment in time, so we can see some really good passive gen regression during these chases when survivors are off of gens, which could potentially allow Dragon's Wrath to gain some pressure, but the question is whether or not it's going to be enough pressure with, you know, 4 gens completed with 1 hook left, or with 1 hook, and I don't know, you know, it's definitely a tough position for any killer, especially the Nemesis, to be in.
Yeah, and we're only now seeing Nemesis get to tier 3 on the mutation. Which what I remember what I was saying earlier, very early in the match, you want to get to tier 3 as fast as possible as Nemesis, otherwise he's not as strong, right?
Yep.
I think that definitely took way too long for us here, and these survivors definitely have the heavy advantage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest thing that you kind of need to look at when it comes to Nemesis is you almost want to play him like Oni, and that's going to be kind of strange to say, but it's one of those situations where you want to infect that initial chase, and then afterwards, you want to, you know, walk away from that chase, go to a gen, infect the next person, get to tier 2, rinse, repeat, and start making them use those vials early, because if you don't, it becomes problematic. But the zombie putting some work in here.
Oh. You know, I personally love to name my zombies, right? That zombie's name is Deborah, and Deborah was doing great. She's doing great. She earned her pay today, all right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, the zombies in certain maps can just be so beneficial, whether that be in regards to things like information, especially in conjunction with Discordance or Tinker, for example, or, you know, just being able to get those downs in those tight loops where survivors are just not able to really navigate around them.
And I think we are seeing Dragon's Wrath go ahead and get their confirmed kill here. I think Rin is last hook right here, so go ahead, confirm your kill. Or not.
You know, just a cheeky little head nod there, saying, okay, you know, you got the Ruin. You know, that was the real objective all along.
The whole time. Yeah, and for sure. I was actually getting a little worried. Like, are you still gonna have the time? Are you gonna have the time to get to that hook? Do you have time to head mod? Oh man, but yeah, that was pretty good. I like that play from the survivors for sure. For Nemesis, Nemesis doesn't have a lot of strength for me as a comp killer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to see more play from Nemesis. I do want to see Nemesis developed a little bit more and see how viable they are in comp. But with that being said, you know, obviously we see in that scenario where the survivors just were not able to, or not the survivors were able to really pressure that Nemesis out and really just, you know, do gens at their leisure and not really have to worry much about Nemesis or the zombies. I don't even think we saw the zombies really around gens for the most part, did we?
No, I didn't see a lot of zombies around gens, but those zombies were still doing work. We were seeing a lot of survivors getting infected by the zombies, but I think, like you said, early game, that could be a play by the survivors, rather getting infected by a zombie than getting infected by an enemy.
Yep.
And, you know, I hadn't thought of that strategy before you had mentioned it, but that's a viable one. And actually, I may steal that. I may actually steal that when I go play in pubs. Later when I'm streaming, if I steal that, I'm giving you credit, Kilt.
Yeah, no, it would definitely be a play there. Also, cool thing you can do against Nemesis is if you're chased by Nemesis and you're already injured, get infected for the momentum hit. And that way you can get away a little bit faster as well. But before we go any further, I actually do need to make a quick announcement. It does look like, due to some scheduling issues, Samletex will be forfeiting this last Survivor round, as they are currently 2 survivors down. So, do apologize about that, but I will admit, with the score of 32 Samletex to 119 UA, it is definitely a non-winnable scenario for Samletex, so does not make much of a difference in the long run. But with that being said, congratulations on Dyna Alliance on your win today, and GG well played to both sides.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that, those were exciting matches. Good play on both sides. Definitely. Anytime you can watch a good fun match is a good time. I love this game. I love Dead by Daylight. I love Champions of the Fog. So it's been a good day. It's been a good start to the day. We've got more matches to go too.
We do indeed.
Keep it here. Keep it here. Keep it real.
No, absolutely. We have some more matches coming up, and our next match is actually going to be, let's double check real quick on the exact teams, as we have 5 matches being streamed today. First off, of course, was Samletex versus Undying Alliance, but next up is Object of Depression versus Prestige. So definitely make sure to stick on by for that, where we'll be back at 12 p.m. CST, 1 hour from right now. But with that being said, Vader, if the stream wanted to go say hi to you next time you're live, where would they find you?
You can find me on Twitch at the OG Vader. There are underscores in there, no spaces, just underscores. But yeah, you can find me there. We play. It looks like last thing I played was Apex Legends. Definitely, I was playing with a couple of my We Overslept teammates, because I do play on a comp team as well. I play on We Overslept. But you know, I love playing Dead by Daylight. I play with viewers a lot. I play a lot of customs as well. So definitely, I've got a pretty good community of people that love playing customs or swiffing. So definitely join my Discord. Go ahead and get notification sub roles and play with us. We're really all about building an inclusive community. So I would love to see you there.
Awesome, awesome, absolutely. And with that being said, I, of course, am Mark, aka Guildspire. I'm an educational Dead by Daylight player, here to teach Ghosts how to play Killer and survivors how to play against Killer. Also, for those who enjoy Magic the Gathering, I'll be doing some Magic Mondays going forward as well, so definitely make sure to stop on by and say hi. and we can play some TCG as well. But with that being said, we'll see y'all later at 12 p.m. CST for Object of Depression versus Prestige. Bye-bye!
See you guys.